Hey guys, Brian Fisher with Edge Fitness coming to you for a Friday fix. Quick question for you guys. How many Zoom calls have you done in the last 24 hours, in the last week, in the last year? The answer might be 2020 for some of you, but was chatting with somebody about something related to that. How many, they're changing activity and looking at that change in activity and how it has affected them. During this pandemic time, we've all been greatly affected by so many different things, but one of the key things that we'll really be taking a hard look at going forward, especially the hope of a vaccine being approved, already being implemented in some places, and the hope of normalcy and getting back to whatever things kind of were like. So we're going to hit on a few things. One being just that. Take a look at, we talked about previously in our Build Better Habits program, if you were part of that. And one of the things that we look at is if you have a broken system, your system being the movement, nutrition, recovery, mindset strategies that you have in place. If your system is broken, if things aren't going well, if you're not sure if you're still doing a Zoom call or watching another show on Netflix, you really can't tell the difference anymore sometimes, you might have a broken system because you're spending way too much time in front of that camera. Thank you for watching this. Don't turn it off. Hopefully you get some great value from this in terms of just shifting your focus, kind of fixing your mindset, fixing some other parts of your life as you're going forward here with regards to your movement, nutrition, recovery, and mindset from the perspective that if we're spending so much time doing all these other things, if we're distracted by the length of this shutdown, this pandemic, and the stress that it is putting on every single one of us, and it is very, very stressful, much more so for some of you and much less for others, but we have all been going through this. There's not a single person that has not been directly affected by everything that's been going on here. But we need to look at just how well is our system working. If it's not working, we usually say one of the best things you can do is go back to the time where your system was working and do that kind of mental exercise of what were you doing? What were you doing for your movement, for your nutrition, for your recovery, for your mindset? And you might kind of come to the realization that if you go back to what you were doing when things are normal, again, whatever that looks like, do you want to go back to how your movement, nutrition, recovery, mindset practices and your habits and your skills that you were doing? Do you want to go back to that? Was it working well for you then? Chances are it's maybe working better for you than it is now. But if you can look at, hey, I have this opportunity to take a look at what I was doing, and it really wasn't as good as it could have been. It maybe be working better than what it is now. How can I make it better for going forward? Because as we've been sitting through so many Zoom calls, had somebody come in earlier today that they said, I had 6 Zoom calls yesterday. Like, that's a typical day for a lot of people right now because that's just the way we have to do this. We talk a lot about, maybe taking advantage of, if you're working at home, a sit to stand type of desk, or utilizing, we've talked a lot about office setup, home setups. A lot of other people have too, with great ideas out there. Are you still using those strategies? Or have you just kind of succumbed and molded your lifestyle to the couch or the most comfortable chair? Yeah, it can be tiring standing. Had somebody else who, if they stand too much, back pain. If they sit too much, back pain. So we're working on just different strategies to build up their tolerance and work in some movement and break out of those habits that they've found themselves in. We're in the habit of probably being a little bit more sedentary. The quarantine 15 is now the new freshman 15. And for some people, that's a reality that they don't necessarily want to face, but they're going to have to, because going forward, now we have opportunities as things do open back up of, oh man, now I can go back to the gym. Now I do feel safe to go back. Are you ready, willing, and able to go back? Do you have habits in place that will support going back to the gym? How is it going to be to break the habits that you're in now of sitting behind a computer, staring at a screen, again, not knowing if it's a Netflix show or a Zoom call? Hopefully you do know the difference, because you might be part of that Zoom call and need to participate, not in the Netflix show. It'd be cool if you did. But as you're looking at those differences, all those shows add up, all that sedentarism. We're kind of zooming into being sedentary by doing so much of what we're doing now. So we need to take a look at how our system is working and what we can change as we get ready to go forward, because we will be able to have more opportunities to get out and meet with people again. be able to more safely go to restaurants, hopefully, and to interact with friends and family and go to the gym and all these things that have been put on hold for so long. Again, I don't like to use that term because we say don't hit pause, don't hit hold. Dial up or dial down. We've had to really dial down on a lot of things that we can dial up and just go crazy at and really throw ourselves in too hard, too fast, too soon, kind of New Year's resolution style from whenever we're able to, not just at New Year's, because chances are by then we're still going to be in a lot of shutdown, we're still going to be under a lot of restrictions, but it doesn't mean you can't start there. But again, why wait? Start it now. Always do something. You can do something today to take a look at what you're currently doing for your movement, your nutrition, recovery, and mindset. How can you make it a little bit better? Always do something to make it a little bit better. And then as you build and you progress, you're gaining some momentum into that New Year's resolution kick, into when things open up, into normalcy, whatever that looks like. And you've got some habits already on the build that you're building better to build a better you. So take a look at what you are doing now. What's broken? What's not working well? What's working well? How can you help yourself to do better? How can we help you besides just these videos to take a look at and see, like that person who did 6 Zoom calls? What's a better way that you can do those Zoom calls? Taking a break in between when you have long sessions, getting up, moving around, setting it up on the floor, resting in a kind of sphinx pose position on your stomach, propped up on your elbows, using a sit to stand desk, propping it up on a breakfast bar counter, boxes, books, whatever you need to make it higher. But how can you do those things a little bit better? Don't wait for when things turn back to normal, because we don't really know what that's going to look like. And for some of us, we don't want to go back to what that was because it was kind of broken already there. And we keep riding this repetitive broken system cycle. Break it by, what can I do a little bit better? Take a look at what was working, what wasn't, what is working well, what isn't. What do you want to be working well as you get ready to go forward into this? So maybe take, as if your Friday is kind of winding down, whenever you get a chance to watch this going into the weekend, to sit down and do some prep, some planning. We like to say with our movement, one of the basic habits is schedule it in, get others involved. You can take a look at and you can schedule in time to sit down, map out where you're going. I had somebody say to me earlier today, we were talking about kind of getting into some other nutrition habits as they're new to the program, and saying, hey, are you ready, willing, and able? Do you feel like doing a food journal? Well, I've always felt better of planning it out and then just following that. Awesome, great way to kind of flip that food journal script and say, all right, what do you want to eat? Come up with that plan and then follow through with it. And you can modify it maybe as you need to. Maybe that would be a great strategy for you for nutrition, as well as taking a look at all these different systems and to kind of break that zooming to being sedentary, where you take a second to dial down on some things, take a snapshot, and look at hopefully zooming into better habits as you go forward. So hopefully just kind of that little shift, that little time to pull back and fix your mindset, fix your focus on what you want things to be like when they return to normal. We had a whole lot of videos on, how to get into that pandemic shutdown quarantine routine, how to get the most out of that. What can you start doing, planning ahead for what's coming up next? Because where you're going to be 3 months from now is what you're doing right now, what you're going to do today to plan and prepare for that. If it's wanting to get back in routine, to lose that quarantine 15, getting back into the gym, we would love to help you out with that. If it's wanting to just, have better relationships with people going forward because maybe you didn't have good relationships previously, take some time to think about that now. And if something that we said here resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe and share so we can hopefully help you out with more great tips and resources as we try to help come alongside you and take your next steps on your health and fitness journey. And if we can help you out in more ways than that, leave us a comment, email us, info@edgefitia.com. Stop by if you're in the area. We'd love to be able to help you out as you kind of work back into or towards a new direction for yourself on your health and fitness journey. Have a great one, guys. We'll see you next time.